Mike's on.
Well, mics are on, gentlemen. John, Gary, we're live. We're rolling. We're here. We're enthusiastic. This is night 2 of budget hearings for the town of Lincolnville, fiscal year 21. And without any further ado, as we have our road commissioner here, I'll offer it to David first, and then we'll jump right in.
Well, welcome back. We've only managed to dissuade a few from not showing up tonight, but welcome anyways. We're going to start on the Thursday list. The first is Road Commissioner Young and the Highways and Bridges, which is on page 15. I'll talk a little bit about the easy stuff at the top, and Vernon's here to explain the program and where we think we're headed in the coming year, and we'll go from there. First things, very similar to Tuesday night when we met. We have a road commissioner. We pay him an annual stipend. We've included the whopping 1.6% change for the road commissioner's stipend within the budget. You'll see part-time wages. We have proposed an increase, primarily due to the experience that things we've been experiencing in terms of more people working for us for a little bit longer. And FICA and Medicare is the same old. We do have substantial change you'll see under machinery, and Bernie can talk a little bit about that, but that's primarily due to the fact that we're hiring more machines and they cost more money. I'm trying to get a little bit more done. We have not experienced a tremendous increase in the materials that we've seen a little bit in the machinery. Bernard, maybe you could talk a little bit about the usual things that we do in terms of grading and ditching and culverts.
Well, my job right this time of year is a little bit slack, a little snow plowing, but in the summer and when spring comes, we grade a road. A lot of it's done with a tractor and the off rake in mud season, so not turning big machinery around, big people's driveways. And ditching and stuff gets held off to the middle of summer. And whatever roads we're gonna hot top this year, which I guess is Moody Mountain and possibly Fellow Road, we'll go in and clean any ditches that need to be, which on Moody Mountain Road there's gonna be some ditching done. And get rid of and replace culverts that need to be replaced. And the rest of summer it's cleaning ditches and getting the roads up to shape and bumps all out of them for summer traffic on gravel roads, and patching any hot top roads that need patching. And this year we had quite a run on culverts and driveways. We did. And then we go from there, I guess. But anything anyone wants to ask me about or anything?
I want to chime in a little bit more with some of the things that we get saddled with, or Bernard does. Tree and brush removal roadside.
We're getting into more of it, and cutting trees.
And roadside mowing.
And the roadside mowing is, I guess we're still gonna have someone to do it.
I hope so.
Nick, the one that's done it, is going to work for Robbins full time. So I don't know, the father won't do anything in the summer, so I guess if I'd be asking if we're still gonna do it weekends or something for us. With Nick Berry.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Also under machinery, we do crosswalk restriping down the library and the beach. Crosswalks there. This year we put some stop lines at some problematic intersections
For the first time.
to help visibility, so people, Slab City and Green Acre Road at Route 52, Slab City and Duck Trap Road at the Four Corners, near Route 173, Moody Mountain Road out on at 235.
Yeah.
There's a couple of spots like that that just have been either accidents or near misses.
I don't know, some of you that travel around, I think it's helped, so getting people stopped at intersections. You know, making those big white stripes, just as we come up on 52, Slab City, and 235. I think it does help. I have got a fellow is asking for striping around town, and he's gonna be approaching in a couple of weeks, just to pre-warn you.
Okay.
He's been bugging me now for a year.
And when Bernard says striping, we've had requests for centerline striping on the roads.
That's right.
And some people have actually requested edge lines. Those cost about 12 cents a foot. And once you do it, they don't last.
It's gonna be every year. Once you start it,
It's an annual.
This is on a secondary road?
This is on town roads,
On town.
such as Slab City.
Youngtown, Moody Mountain,
No.
the major ones.
I can understand center line possibly, but I can't
Edge.
see the benefit of the.
I'm just bringing it up because you're gonna be hearing about it.
Yeah,
He's gonna be sitting here, and
yeah,
I'm not saying yes or no to him. I mean, he's coming along quite strong to me, but you're gonna be the final answer.
Right now, the budget doesn't include anything for any center line or edge line striping. But, it's out there with some, and so we thought it an appropriate tack to let you all know that it's out there. And,
Yep.
David, did you say it's 12 cents a foot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's a double yellow or a single white on the side. I think most of it's just the truck and not the paint.
David, I have one question, Bernie. At the end of Duck Trap Road going onto the highway, is there a line there?
Mm-mm.
Would that be the state that does that?
Oh, the one.
Not
Wait,
at
this-
Route 1.
Going up to Route 1?
Oh,
A
we
stop
didn't,
sign.
we didn't put one on 173 Route 1?
No.
Duck Trap?
Duck
No,
Trap.
we did not.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I-
I thought we got them all.
The state won't do that.
You'd do it, we'd do it.
Oh, the state.
We could do it.
You could?
I don't say we will, but we could.
Okay. It'd make me happy.
Okay.
Sorry. Don't mean to be flippant about that.
Okay.
So in terms of, let's see, I just want to make sure we've tucked everything on the machinery. Materials, we have gravel, not only for the gravel roads, which we put a little bit on, a touch up if need be, but also for the shoulders of the roads that we pave. We have a contractor come in with a shoulder box and put a couple foot shoulder, taper it down so people don't have to drop off the edge of the road.
It's been a hard winter for us, because we've had 3 falls. It's turned our gravel roads. About 50% of them are gone to mud. Some didn't, some did. So it's been a hard year on
How do you
gravel
feel?
roads.
How do you feel in general, the ditching and like tree overhang for our gravel roads are? Do you think that we should put any effort in there?
To get them tied or something, you mean?
No, just the tree cover preventing
Oh,
the
tree
sun
cover.
from getting
I'm
in.
sorry, I
Or,
didn't quite hear.
yeah, or the ditching alongside of some of our gravel roads. Do you think?
Well, we try to open them up much as we can so they fall out quicker.
Yeah,
Which that's not so good in the winter, 'cause I like them safe roads all winter,
right.
but it does get the sun in and get them start drying quicker in the spring. If
Yeah.
I get warm days and cold nights and no rain, I can sometimes get by the mud season. But if I get 3 or 4 days of rain in a row, it was just the salt down in the gravel would just soften right up, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going in 5 or 6 inches with your vehicle. The good thing is more people are driving four-wheel drive cars now. I don't hear so much so quick. And it's happening in the wintertime too.
Would
People
we-
get around town easier with the cars they drive nowadays. So
Would we be better off with more sun on all of our gravel roads? You know, what I'm getting at, I think she was probably trying to ask is, our tree cover on our dirt road, should we concentrate on opening that back up? Or do we have roads that of concern, or,
well, I try to come them back as much as we can,
okay?
but you don't go up towards the Hope on High Street and cut back much, because they want the cover. They want a canopy when they drive down
Yeah,
towards the Hope from Moody Mountain. They by cutting the trees up there.
that's a
you'd
tough
have to be able-
decision then.
They want the canopy. Some people want canopies and some want them cut back.
Everybody likes the canopy, but everybody likes smooth, dry roads.
Roads.
Understood.
Right.
Gary?
Dave, can you explain, on this budget line item, you have the paving program,
Yep.
250,000, but then, and then in capital, you also have, road work too, road improvement.
Yep.
So what's the difference?
Well, the difference is, and we haven't quite got down to paving, but we can jump ahead. The difference as we see it, is here is more of a maintenance effort. It's the overlays. We're talking for the coming year of doing Thurlow Road, the end from Beach Road to the end of it, right down here by Drake Corner Store. Dead ahead goes up, not the Youngtown Road end, because there's two roads with the same name that don't. They used to meet in the middle long time ago, but they don't right now. And then a portion of Moody Mountain Road from Martin Corner Road to the Searsmont line. Those roads are already paved, and we look at, we have an ongoing paving program that we update annually to see where we are and, you know, when these roads will come back up on the cycle. The gravel road or the road improvement, monies under capital improvement is more for what I would call a special project, an actual improvement rather than a maintenance type project. The large culvert that we replaced on Slab City with a little bridge. The one we talked about a little bit the other night about doing a culvert replacement up on Townhouse Road. Or if we were going to take a gravel road and redo a stretch and pave it like we did on North Cobbtown Road. That wasn't this past year, was it? Year before? Whenever it was.
Well,
So
2 years ago.
that's the difference. All these years run together in my mind.
All right, thanks.
2 years ago.
So kind of moving down the page from materials, trash removal at the park's pretty straightforward there. Sand salt building maintenance, and electricity. We are looking to potentially do a little more maintenance and expense on the sand salt building. We have an exhaust fan, or two, right?
There's two
On the back of the building. So if you're working in there, putting up sand, it's dusty, sandy, as you can well imagine, and salty. Those exhaust fans blow out the back and bring fresh air to the front, and the louvers are
The shutters are,
not shut.
one of them fell off, and I got to find a old hand farm, I guess. If I could get some new
Oh,
shutters, well, somebody sells some new ones.
We'll find some new one. That building's, how old now, Bernard?
The salt shed, that was built sometime like first the 80s,
80s.
but I can't name the year.
Wow.
We were one of the earlier ones to have a salt shed on account of water pollution around here. So we got that built quite early, before other people did.
Street and work zone safety signs, we've budgeted a little bit additional there. Street signs, we had a couple of new road names a year, we seem to lose a few to who knows where a year. And then you wanna talk about the barricades and the cones that you,
Well, we have to replace so many cones every year. They seem to disappear. Not at a large amount, 5, 6 a year or something.
we found them at the fire station. We talked about this the other night at the fire chief.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. No.
And the fire company helped us tremendous in big storms. They come in and they help themselves and go and put the signs out during the night and cut trees. The fire company does a lot for Lincolnville, and for no pay. And emergencies.
And we talked about paving, which roads are up for consideration this year with Thurlow and Moody, a portion of Moody Mountain.
Yeah, those.
Winter road maintenance, we have a contract with a contractor to do the winter road maintenance, basically plowing and sanding and salting. It'll be the third year of a 5-year contract, excuse me. And that has I believe it's 3% adjustment annually to that contract. Beach parking lot, we plowed the beach parking lot, or a portion of the beach parking lot, and piles snow and the rest of it. And winter sand and salt, which we bid out later this year in conjunction with, a dozen or 15 other towns.
Question about, when we have auditors come through, do they like look at, oh, we budgeted so much for winter sand, and then do they compare that we spent that, or what's their job?
No, the auditor's job really is to make sure that we can add and subtract, and we're not putting some of it in our pockets. If you look at the town meeting warrant articles, you know, like administration and finance is one, and then public works, they look at that as a group and not specifically the lines. We can tell you, I mean, you can see right here where we are in terms of expenditure for the half year. At the end of the year, we can tell how much we think we spent. Sometimes the auditor likes to move something from, you know, machinery to materials or vice versa, but it's still coming out of the same pocket, so to speak. They look at our financial statements and render an opinion as to whether or not they appear to be accurate. But they certainly do not look at every transaction, every nook and cranny. But it's always, I'm not an auditor, I'm not a finance person for background, but it's always interesting how and what they look at. And, you know, they don't look at the same thing every year because they're trying to get the randomness. But some years, you know, they looked at this pretty hard this year. I mean, you might think they're not coming back, and then they still look at it next year. You know, they have their methods, and I'm not privy to what those are. But. Anybody have some questions?
I do have one back on paving program. It says, in keeping with road surface maintenance plan, Thurlow Road and Moody Mountain Road. Then it says Martin Corner Road to Searsmont. Is that where Martin Corner meets Moody Mountain? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Used to be Doolittle, but Dave don't know where it is. I have to say Martin.
He doesn't know the name Doolittle.
I know how to do little, but I don't know where to do
He
little.
said he never come past Grand Action.
He lived here for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years.
I don't have quite as many years here as Bernard does.
I had a question about the excavator for $45,000. Is that new? I have no idea.
Oh, that's all contracted. We in the town don't, with very limited exception, we don't have any equipment. We certainly don't have any rolling equipment in highways.
No.
It's all, we hire this person with an excavator to ditch from here to there, and we pay him an hourly rate to do that, and then, so it's all contracted excavation. It's not, we're not looking to buy one.
It would cost a lot more than $45,000 too.
If you want to.
Put 100 in front of
Really
it.
good to
Yeah.
use one. Any other questions for Bernard or David?
Can I go to?
Thank you very much, Bernard.
Okay, I thought the next thing going over there individually, happy with your, okay.
You're excused. I'll talk the next page really quick while Bernard's cleaning up. Transfer station, which is page 16. Yep. Thank you, Bernard. Lincolnville belongs to Midco Solid Waste Corporation. Midco Solid Waste Corporation has a 8-person board of directors, which includes 2 people from the town of Lincolnville. They decide the budget and send us an assessment, and that's it for the coming year, $96,781. And that's in addition to every $2.50 you pay a bag.
Okay.
Don't have a whole lot of choice unless we wanna get out.
Is this the place I could ask how that, was that called Fiber Right, or, I can't remember the place?
Yeah.
Is that running yet?
Yes, well,
Is it good,
it is running. They've had a few startup issues like any new place. I don't believe the entire process is operating. I don't believe they've started the biogas portion on the other end, and to look into anybody else that might be able to fill in the blank, but they are certainly operating and accepting trash.
or? And do we have to make a decision again, which?
The contract we have where the Midco Solid Waste disposes of trash now will be ending June 30th, 2021. So the board is gonna have to at some
Re-examine
point
that.
get going on trying to figure out where we're going with trash after that.
We're working on it.
Any update on single source recycling?
I can't provide one.
I mean, the market's collapsed, but
Yeah, some promote that right to the end, and others say it's not worth it. So there's quite an argument about that. We're working on that as well.
Okay.
So.
Woo, get us back on schedule. The harbor master's not here, so we move to something else and come back?
Sure.
Okay, let's turn 2 pages then and go to Gary. We're now doing Public Works Other, which is on page 18. We'll have a few people talk here on this, and then I'll fill in the blanks for those that aren't here. This is Rosie Gary, who is here to work with us, talk with us about the Veterans Park maintenance, if that, and several other things later tonight. We'll be here all night.
Can we do them all at once?
No.
No. I'm trying to
I
go.
worked really hard on the schedule,
Who put
Rosie.
the schedule together?
David.
So, the Veterans Park is pretty well complete. We are gonna need a few things. The flagpole was brand new, but it's slowly on its way out already. It's worn out. Hard to believe. But what happens is there's a lot of wind coming up across the pond, and it is aluminum pole, and with moving with that, the springs, it's a telescoping pole, and the little buttons are not working. And that wasn't a cheap pole, but we're gonna get by with it for now, and the light is working well. So we do have some maintenance and stuff that we'd like to continue with, but we're looking forward to the sidewalks when that shows up, if and when, and it's going together very well. So if you have any questions on that, I guess.
So,
Yes.
about the flagpole.
Sure.
So you're requesting $1,000. obviously there's some maintenance that's gonna come out of that, but do you have a targeted number for replacement of the flagpole, and do you have I know it's hard to pinpoint when it needs to be replaced, but I would assume you're looking to
We're gonna-
target a date
Well, I'd like to
sooner than later.
I'd like to get by with it if it's working as, you know, where it is right now. We've changed some of the stuff on it because it used to telescope down so that I could put the flag at half mast. Now, Cecil and I worked on the thing, and we actually, if you see, there's ropes there now.
Yeah,
And there wasn't no ropes. And so now we're letting the flag down like you would a normal thing, but it's also worn in the middle a little, you know, that. So I'd like to go as long as we could without spending any money for it, but probably to replace it, we won't use another telescoping. The other thing is, it fills up with ice and snow when the rain comes down the flagpole, and it goes in, and that's part of the other problem. It freezes up, and you can't push the buttons in to make it work there. But we have things, you know, we like to keep up with the shrubbery and the plantings and the lawn mowing and stuff. And I think that if and when the sidewalks are approved, and if they put the sidewalks in, there's going to be some little changes there. We're going to have to do a little bit of landscaping and stuff for that.
Is $1,000 enough?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, for now. Yes, thank you very much for that, but at a later date, we try real hard. We do a lot of the stuff ourselves, you know, try to keep the cost down.
Thank you.
Rosie?
Yes.
Would it make any sense to just weld it at the joints?
No,
No?
not that, no. Yes.
What's a new pole cost, like, I guess you're looking at fiberglass probably, right? Something.
Well, probably, it can be anywhere from $400 to $1,100 for a decent pole. And that one, I think that one was $400 or $500, the one that's in there now. So, but I think we're gonna stick with the rope and landers. I think we're gonna go to that. That works. So, but the only thing that concerns me is, like I said, that the wind really blows pretty. That's why we put those big, if you look at the honor roll itself, we put those 8x8s in there to hold that, because the wind coming off that pond is immense.
And with the flag off too.
Yeah, it has a little tip, but
And it's not a safety issue?
no.
Okay.
No.
How
No.
often do you change the flag?
We've since we've had a flagpole, and it's been a couple, 3 years anyway, 4 years. We've changed the flag once. She got torn, and you know, just with the wind, and we've replaced that once. But that's not a giant expense for that. And we just order it in, and we have it within no time at all.
And just for the budget committee's knowledge, the group, the committee that oversaw the construction of it has now put it back in the selectmen's laps. The selectmen have recently approved a Veterans Honor Roll Park Committee and policy. So if anybody's interested in serving on that committee, they're going to go back to the people that served on the construction committee first, I think, but that's an option. And those folks, in addition to assisting the board with the addition of new names if necessary, has also been charged with you know, keeping a watchful eye out, so things like the flag, or we've had issues with bench before and whatever else, so. Oh, good sets of eyes.
We've been very fortunate, no real vandalism, and just, I think one of the stones got tipped over, but who knows?
Wind.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question before Mr. Gary goes, sits down, and then comes back in 20 minutes, and then sits down and comes back in 20 minutes? Sorry. You're on too much stuff.
I'm not on anything. I should be, come down here.
Stop it.
Now. Next.
Stephanie, as much as Pat's been sitting here long, you're next. Next is still on that same page, Public Works Other. This is Stephanie Thosterson. She is the chair, relatively recently, 2 months ago, assumed the chair position for the Recreation Commission. Recreation Commission assists in the oversight and issues for the ball fields behind the Lincolnville School and Breezemere Park. And with that, so we'll be looking at, on this list, Breezemere Park maintenance is first.
Okay.
There's a summary that they all have.
So before we begin, I just would like to say thanks for inviting us to speak. And as the chair, one of the things that I have struggled with over the past several years being involved is feeling like we don't have enough structure. So my goal is to bring a little more structure moving forward. And let's see. So what are we starting with?
Breezemere Park.
Breezemere Park. So how do you want me to do this?
Why don't you give them the spiel and we'll combine it together if we need to talk about dollars and cents.
Okay. So for us as a group moving forward, we kind of looked at, what's our purpose? And we came up with a purpose statement, which is the Lincolnville Recreation Committee is charged with maintaining conscientious and sustainable access to public areas with respect to the safety and consideration for nature, our residents, neighbors, businesses, and the greater public. And the hope is that inside of that vision, we can then test everything that we do as we're moving forward. We also looked at, generally speaking, for the next calendar year, which we have already begun, which I know doesn't quite fit with the fiscal year, but as we move forward, this was kind of how it played out for us. So looking at Breezemere in particular, there has been some question from the boat club over the years about putting some storage in, and so we want to really do a comprehensive walk around and evaluation about whether that's appropriate, and if it is appropriate, presenting a full plan to the board about that. We also want to establish a plan for permanent restrooms. This came up because it was in the,
Comprehensive
plan. And as somebody who uses the park frequently, I see, there's one bathroom and there's a trash can that's frequently overflowing, and I think that would be a great addition. So to look at that and see if that's, appropriate. Also replace the defective dock materials, which were already in the, we've got the parts here, so we'll take care of that. And we also want to review the bandstand use and oversight. I know that there's a commission or a committee for the bandstand, and so we just want to make sure that somebody's being aware so that we don't get caught off guard by something like that. So then how does this fit into Breezemere? So we've got the mowing, which is the normal stuff. We've got the emergency dock removal. We've requested that in the event that there is a major storm coming and we feel that it's not safe to leave that in and we want to pull it out. We have had it 2 or 3 years on the budget now, haven't had to use it, but it's nice to know in case that's an emergency.
Because, not to interrupt, that's because typically we have a volunteer that puts the docks in and takes the docks out. but if there is an emergency situation, the concern was that he might not be available on schedule for us,
Mhm.
and hence the request.
Great, thank you for that
You're
background. Additional swim buoys, there's concern, there's a lot of traffic, of boat traffic crossing over where the kids swim, and there's a lot of use there. And so we would like to purchase an additional, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3.
Two.
Two, there we go. Buoys to put out to help, again, mark and, define where the boats should be and where the swimmers should be and keep everybody safe. And we've also talked with the Lakes guy, Dale Doherty, there we go, Dale Doherty, about putting those up, and he's on board with that as well.
Dale works for McGonagall Watershed Association that you'll hear from later tonight. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
That's okay. Okay, more
Tidbits
background
of-
is better. This is my
tidbits of-
first time. So additional swim buoys. The barbecue grills, one of our members has gone down there and is concerned about the state of the barbecue grills. They're a little bit off kilter. The grills themselves seem to be somewhat okay, but where you put the grill in and hold it in place seems to be rotten and borderline not usable. We're finding that people are putting rocks in there to hold up the grill flats. So that's what that's about. Picnic tables. The picnic tables that are there, I know have been talked about before. These picnic tables
It's a
are,
great time.
they weigh a ton, they're well overbuilt, they're also rotting. And what we would like to do is go with new wooden picnic tables that we would have treated. And we would like to ask the boat club to help us, with treating that, if that works out. And then we also would like to see a plan in place where in the winter, the picnic tables get hauled up to the bandstand so that we can extend the longevity of them. And then trash and redemption receptacles. We've talked about this, the trash cans down at the beach are more pleasant to look at than just a white barrel. So we'd like to explore and create a system that is uniform between the beach and Breezemere and any other places, including Duck Trap, that we'd like to have, kind of a uniform look. And I would like to really explore the idea of including a bottle redemption in that. Because there's a lot of people that come from away that aren't used to that. And for the people that are here, there's no means for them to recycle.
They can take them home.
They can.
That's what.
I take them home with me.
That's what I would do. Sorry.
Okay. You wanna? Yes.
Take a mini break, see if they've got any questions about Breezemere, and then we'll jump into
Great.
the other locations.
I got a few questions. When you say treat the picnic tables, what do you mean by that?
There's, so I think Cheryl's the one that looked up the pricing of these and like a water sealer.
Okay.
So it's not painting, it's sealing them with a water sealer, and that's included in the price that she put together for us.
Okay. And then the trash and redemption. First of all, how often is the trash taken out?
That's an excellent question, and I don't honestly know
Supposed
the
to be
ins and
weekly.
outs of it.
Weekly, okay.
By Wayne Hill, right?
But anecdotally, it's overflowing sometimes.
I bet on the 5th of July it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So is there isn't a dumpster there, is there? It's just
No.
cans.
I think there used to be, didn't there?
At one point, we had a dumpster there, and all of a sudden it became filled with all sorts of household trash.
Yeah. So
Because
that's-
I've seen people who, stay on Norton Pond in one of the cabins or whatever on the pond, and then they come out in the morning and they come and they dump their trash in
Wow.
the trash can.
Yeah.
And that may be left over from when there was a dumpster there. And maybe a habit from that.
Okay.
I was unaware that it was problematic, but we could certainly double up on the pickups of that
Yeah.
trash. I mean, that's what we do at Duck Trap in the summer.
And then the porta potty line, that's for 2 porta potties?
Just one.
Just one.
Do you
And
think it would be advantageous for 2 though? I mean,
I think that, I don't think it would go to waste to have a second. I don't recall in the times that I'm there ever hearing anybody say, you know, or seeing a line or anything, but I,
Dave Pike, there we go, who does the porta potties, pretty typically reports to me when there's challenges.
okay.
And if we want to, rather than necessarily doubling up, we might increase the frequency with which it's pumped. I mean, the ones at the beach, we do every other day in the summer. It's just, they're busy.
and I don't recall, you know, being down there with the kids swimming and stuff over the summer. I don't recall ever thinking, ooh, I don't wanna go in there.
that's good.
I've often wondered about the kids in the boats, coming in and need to use it, and, you know, if you have a full boatload with 8 or 10 boats that they go in there, but sometimes I've counted 20 kids going across for the, which I think is the greatest program going.
And there are summer camps that sometimes frequent
Yeah.
the park as well.
Yeah, and I've often wondered how one works for that amount of traffic during the weekdays. I don't see so much during the weekends, but during the weekdays.
Well, maybe we consider, you know, doubling up over the summer months, the busiest of the
Yeah.
summer months when
Mhm.
school's out,
Yeah,
June, July, and August, and then
Makes-
single
makes
the rest of the
perfect
year. We have started keeping it there year round, because we're seeing a lot more, in the winter with,
oh,
Ice fishing.
Yeah,
Ice
Um,
skating.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can certainly look at that. I think it's roughly $100 a month per unit, so.
What's the cost comparison between just doubling up on pumpings?
It's less expensive to pump more frequently than it is to
Yeah.
have a second unit.
which
But
would make
that's-
sense.
Yeah,
But
but
then
that
you can only have
doesn't,
one at a time.
right, that
Well,
doesn't accommodate
hopefully.
when 40 kids are there at once.
And then you have all the people that ride the bikes that go down there and spend a considerable amount of time picnicking and playing around, having a good time, but they use it, so. Last time I saw there was like 20 some odd one particular day, and they have all that trash, so it's another factor, which is something relatively new.
So I like this uniform trash redemption receptacle idea, making it uniform throughout the town. It makes a lot of sense. It also is a very subtle clue to people. You're at the duck trap, you're still in Lincolnville. You're at the beach, you're in Lincolnville. Is this $1,000 enough?
I think, you know, from what I've looked at, I've seen, you know, anywhere from your simple, you know, trash can, blue trash can, black trash can for about a little under $100 to upwards of $600 or $700. I would do a lot more research, knowing that we had a budget and figuring out how we would spread that around. I think, you know, especially if we're gonna replace what's down at the beach, that's gonna affect what we do. And it would probably be, you know, in phases, like maybe this summer we do part of it and then next summer we add the next level. So I think it's a realistic figure.
And that's just for the Breezemere trash cans that
Right.
goes also under the athletic
Right.
fields.
Well, as a side project, it might be worthy of our time to put together a list of any and all of our facilities, including the athletic fields, any of our waterfront facilities, and then vet that against the
And
reality of the dollar figures.
And as I've been doing this, I also, when I think about it, I think about as part of the Lincolnville beach and the beaches aspect of it, I'm also thinking including duck trap in that piece of it as well. So I think of 3 public water access locations when I'm thinking of this kind of stuff to, you know, to kind of uniform, you know.
The trash dispensers at the ball fields are the 35 gallon with the heavy top that goes on it, but your garbage bag fits down over the can itself,
Mhm.
and then you put the top on it. It actually looks pretty good, and it's heavy, so it would not be easy to lug it off. So
We
you
can look
would
at that.
actually need, I'd like to see something like that, uniform, ball fields, Breezemere Park, down where they swim,
Mhm.
and down to the beach.
Mhm.
I mean, that certainly is, it definitely would, all be uniform.
Mhm.
And it seems like they're easy to take care of, it's easy to change. And the one next at the ball fields, I believe there's a 30-gallon container with a bag in it and a top with a big hole cut in the middle of
Right.
it for returnables.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they added that this year.
The only downside is, once people are done with an event, they clean out the garbage and leave the returnables, and it rains. The garbage can doesn't get wet, because that's got a square top on it,
Yeah.
but the returnable.
I
thing-
would, in my mind, I'm envisioning, they make a lot of like side-by-side units,
Yeah.
so that, they look the same, one's blue, one's green or something.
Okay.
So I'd be looking for that. I am thinking about the weather concern. And in terms
It's a
of,
good idea.
they're still planning that, cause I gotta figure out how are we gonna deal with somebody picking up the bottles, and where does that money go? So, but I think it's definitely a worthwhile thing. I feel so torn, like, who am I supposed to be looking at here?
TV camera.
Okay.
Let's see, we're gonna jump down a little bit on the page to athletic fields, because
Are we gonna skip the beach?
let's get the beach for the moment, yeah.
Okay. All right, athletic fields. So, we're looking at, the first piece is the contracted maintenance. The predominant figure there is, the sports field, who we contract with, on a regular basis. They do all the fertilizing, they bring in turfus, and, I don't even know the extent or how to talk about all the details. I know that there are specifically people that deal with ball fields, and they do a good job, and we've had them for years. We've had them over the past couple of years doing more and more of the work, whereas before we used to have more volunteer labor to help spread the fertilizer and stuff. So, so that's the bulk. I can tell you quickly if that's the full. So 25,169 is what our total for the next next fiscal year is contracted with sports field. Okay. What else? The marking paint is, we buy it and just keep it around, and either the school marks their fields when they need to, the soccer field gets marked, the Little League field gets marked by Five Town Little League when they come and use it. So we just provide the paint and keep it there. Porta potty rental, and then just general maintenance would include, what does maintenance include? I'll tell you exactly. Let's see, the mowing is done by the school. Dugouts, snack shack, green monster, fences, seasonal setup and takedown, that's our general maintenance. So, for example, it would include any stain for the dugouts, any shingles we need for the roofing, and now that I'm looking at it, I don't know what specifically we put on there for this year. And that's embarrassing. Okay. And then the athletic infrastructure, and maintenance. Do you want me to? Yeah.
Question on what
Absolutely,
section is
yep.
finished?
Yep, good.
So the contracted maintenance for the $25,000, how often is that put out for bid to get fresh bids? So it doesn't just sit there and, oh yeah, we always pay 25, we always have.
We haven't bid that in a lifetime.
That's a good
Well,
question.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of option, but I don't know.
And I just have a question with the contracted maintenance on the field itself, and that's what aerating and fertilizing only, or are there other things? Just speaking as somebody who's played adult co-ed softball in there, and it's a pretty rough field.
It
so
is.
It's a lot of money for what I've physically seen down there, and I
Well,
just would like to know what that.
And I too play in the
Yeah.
co-ed league, and I will tell you that we were not able to do a lot of the maintenance this last year because it was so wet. And then the company got backed up, and so they couldn't get to everyone. So we're top on the list in the spring, so we didn't get some of our fall maintenance done, first of all. Second of all, there's a real drainage issue that we're looking at addressing, and there's, where does that go?
I'd love to see a breakdown of that or something, just because I don't know if you're bringing in loam by the yard to level things out, if you're resodding, if you're putting in drainage culverts to help with problems, but I just feel like that's a tremendous amount of money to put out there. And I love the fields, I want them to be used, but if that's gonna be in there, I'd like to see them pristine, because $25,000 can do a lot.
One of the things that we faced is, how would I say this nicely? We took a holiday on ourselves several years ago, and I think we're playing catch-up. I think that's the best way to do
I mean, I just wanna know what
Yeah,
it is.
I think
I'm
Stephanie-
all for it being revamped down there. I just,
Yep.
that would make me feel better to know, like, hey, it's gonna be level, it's gonna look like somebody just put that amount
And
into
so-
it.
Well, there are a number of things, like David just said, that didn't get done. It couldn't be rolled.
Yeah.
It could not be aerated. It could not be treated. They couldn't do anything with the baselines. They couldn't edge.
Yeah.
And edging means if you need solid, that comes in. So this last year, sure, it was rough. Plus, there were people on it when they shouldn't have been on it.
Yeah.
They were given permission to go on
Oh,
it,
I think
and
there's
they
nothing
were
wrong
not
with it. I
supposed
just
to be
wanna
there.
know,
No, but that attributes to the rough
Yeah.
that you're experiencing. So there's a number of things. Sports field is just about one of the only games out there. We do critique their invoices prior to, they send us an estimate prior to them coming down. And we critique it very thoroughly before they come in.
Yeah.
We're constantly saying, well, now wait a minute, you're saying you're gonna do this, but you have this, this, and this. Why wouldn't this work for us? Okay, so it isn't that we're just carte blanche and they're coming in.
Oh, no.
Okay, but I do believe we've got some stuff from the previous 2 years that we can show you. And probably if we give them a call up there, we can get something for you to see for the upcoming meeting.
Well, like I said, I'm all for it because everything on B gets injured a lot easier. So, I really want
Just
to
wait.
improve it. I just am curious
Yeah.
like, what it is. Like,
I
I'm all for
believe
it,
they will
trust me.
come down and take a look at it before they come down,
Yeah.
before they move their equipment down, to give us a preface of what we gotta have.
Stephanie brought with her the sports
The
field
estimate, or
It-
the quote.
proposal for
It's
the
also
coming
a
year.
cumulative amount, so it's not as though we're just writing a
Oh, no, even if we
check.
were, like I said, I'm all for it. I just am curious what goes into that.
Here comes, Kayla just went to copy
Yeah.
the list for you.
And the other thing that I would add, is that we've also made a move towards being, moving away from the
Oh, yeah,
pesticides,
and-
yeah, and being much more green. Is that what you were gonna ask?
No,
Ed?
I actually wanted to ask about the porta potties.
Mhm.
It seems like it's more money for the athletic field. You spend $700, is it there for 7 months then? Because you only spend $100 a month.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't keep one there in the winter.
Right.
So why is it more, I mean, isn't it, you said $100 a month?
Yeah,
I didn't
and,
say that.
and so the, at Breezemere, it's $1,200.
So it's $100 a month.
Yeah.
So if it's not, how many months is it in the athletic field?
7,
Oh, it is.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
yeah.
And I love it, but I have one question that I'm just curious about.
Sure.
Who oversees that things are being done? Who's basically in charge? Is it the rec committee? Or who is completely in charge of overseeing?
No one.
But, okay.
Back in the day, Dottie, when you, when you were on the Recreation Commission, the Recreation Commission, prepared a athletic fields oversight policy, which outlined the duties and responsibilities of the town and of the school. And that has been renewed on an annual basis since. So if you can recall that policy, some things clearly fall to the town, which means the Board of Selectmen, which means me and the rec committee. And some things are signed and budgeted for by the school.
And we do have some wording about, you know, who's on point for different things. We've got a good working relationship with Mr. Russo right now, and I like that. I feel like we're moving in the right direction there. And then when Mike Kremen was on the rec commission, he was the one, like, he was really on point about this. And we don't have anybody, we don't have another Mike. And I have been kind of at a much more removed level because I do play in the summer and I have connections with, you know, with some of these groups and stuff. And so I have taken on some, but it's mostly, you know, just like a very high level, and I think that Dave has been he's been the one making sure it's getting done, Dave and Caleb.
Ooh, that's why it's not getting done. If anybody out there in TV land or on the budget committee wishes to be on the Recreation
Absolutely.
Commission, we have some vacancies, always looking for somebody to step up, or in the audience.
That's right, we have 3 right now, we should have 5.
I just want to confirm, so we agreed to not use pesticides, is that correct?
Correct.
Because I see glyphosate on here, I think Millennium Broadleaf Control is a pesticide.
So I was not directly involved in that.
Okay.
And my understanding is that we were going in a green direction so that we were not using what's the?
Roundup.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
the big one.
That's glyphosate.
Where did you see that?
But you're using it, right?
Glyphosate's under August 2020.
Well, I guess I thought that I was on the assumption that, not that we're moving the direction, but rather that we're gonna make.
We're not
We
using
made
it.
that decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a mistake.
We've conveyed that to sports fields last year when the board so directed. We did not use it after.
Okay.
And
yeah,
seeing
this-
it on here,
This is an
is it-
older.
no, this isn't old, this says.
Well,
Looks up to date.
but didn't we find somewhere when we were
November
looking at this
6th.
the other night that some of it didn't get updated?
November 6th.
I think they may have, like, used the same format from the previous year?
Okay.
Or was that, Kayla, was that you and I, we saw something?
Yeah, there was,
I think there was a different one that we got last year because
No.
I don't
Yeah.
remember seeing this.
Well, we got the two different,
Because
It
once
never
we-
used that word, yeah.
No.
we got the two different proposals last year, and when we authorized it, we went with the non-glyphosate
Right.
option, and disappointed to say the least to see that on there.
Yeah.
And Millennium Broadleaf Control. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yep.
Okay, good catch. The other thing is, I don't know how closely this was fleshed out with the school in mind either, so I don't know if they're aligned with a green approach.
The school?
School.
Well.
It's
I
not
think
up
that
to
that's
them. This
it's
is not up to
their
the
choice.
school.
Our kids shouldn't be exposed to.
Absolutely not up to them,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
They have no say in
So
that.
I know that sometimes they do stuff up around the school and they take care of
Oh.
certain places.
Oh,
Well,
what?
that's a good thing to know, that shouldn't be happening.
Well, regardless, what we're having is a budget conversation,
Yes.
not a policy
Yeah.
conversation.
Well,
Not,
We
let's not,
will-
let's, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of ground to cover in a very short period of time, so There are many other opportunities, such as joining the Recreation Commission, to flesh this idea out further.
In the interim, we will make sure with Mr. Vickerson that the work does not include any of the things that were specifically banned from use
Yeah,
last
That
year,
would be nice.
and the price for that between now. So you may all see a change in that between now and the next time you see this.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for bringing that up.
And then, I think you're just on the athletic infrastructure maintenance, Stephanie.
So then, at the main, we've got, 3,500 in, that was earmarked the current fiscal year for the ball, the tennis courts. What we're asking, maybe I'm not looking at that right. Tennis court, pickleball, I'm sorry. So looking at this list, I forgot my glasses. The tennis courts, pickleball, what we're requesting is $500 that we can use or offer to the pickleball club that has done an amazing job. And this would be in the interim to, if they wanted to put down paint, or if they wanted to continue using tape on the tennis courts, until we resurface, at which point our plan is to include 4 courts for pickleball on the tennis courts. And there's a way that we can do it that, is minimally intrusive to tennis.
When you say paint, you mean hand volunteers a bucket of paint and say, good luck painting lines?
There is particular paint that they could choose to use if they wanted to. They work closely with some people in Belfast who have a lot of experience, and so I would kind of defer to them as to how they would want to do it. I would want approval to make sure that they're using colors that are appropriate and
I'm not
Again,
okay with that.
this is not it is a budget conversation, but it's also a use of municipal infrastructure, so that's something that should definitely be had at a conversation with the select board, whether that's okay or not. But, because in the past we've had varieties of other citizen groups of municipal infrastructure. I think about the pier down at the harbor, or the bandstand, of people sort of taking it upon themselves to do maintenance. And while that is wonderful, it's got to go through us. It has to
So
be. It
what-
has to be approved through us
And it-
first.
what specifically has to be approved for?
If they're going to paint on the tennis court,
Permanent paint, yeah.
if they're going to permanently,
I was under the impression we had this conversation previously that pickleball was going well and that when we went to resurface, we would include pickleball in it. In the meantime, they've been using tape, and I'm just offering, if they want to put paint down,
yeah,
okay.
no, I mean,
So I can say it's for tape only.
Yeah.
And there will be no painting.
Yeah, I think if we are to apply pickleball lines onto the tennis court, then we would want to hire someone to come and do it all at once and have it done professionally, so that
Okay.
there's recourse.
And then again, trash and redemption, there's trash down at the lower field, but there's not one up at the tennis courts. And I've asked Paul previously if we could get a trash can up at the tennis courts, and he declined. But I am confident that if we put one there, he will include it in their trash removal. And also I'd like to include redemption, and the redemption at the school, I would like to be able to go towards the 8th graders for their class trip.
Why is this one more expensive than the one at Breezemere?
That's an excellent question. I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know.
The pickleball net, where would that be stored?
The pickleball club has, with approval from the rec commission and the board, they have a box, a lockbox with a combination that they have secured against the retaining wall for the parking lot by the tennis court.
Okay.
And they have provided 2 nets of their own, and some equipment, and they've been providing all their own stuff so far, and have been doing a fine job of it. And in previous conversations, we had said, you know, yeah, we're not gonna provide rackets, but a net would be appropriate, kinda like we would with the tennis court.
Okay.
Excellent.
Duck Trap Beach. We've got the porta potty, I'm strongly recommending we put a porta potty down there. There has not been one. There's a trash can down there. There's a path into the woods that is well worn. And that place gets, you know, a lot of use over the summer. So I'm recommending that we put a porta potty down there for the summer months.
I don't know if this is, I hope it's not straying in any way, but is, just because there are humans that use the bathroom down there too, is there any way, I mean, I don't know how much they cost, but like a little dog bag dispenser for down there too? I know that's stupid.
Do you see a lot of dog poop down there?
I see a lot of dogs and dog stuff down there. A lot of it gets washed away into the water, but that's also kind of like unsavory, but Dog Trap's one of my most favorite places on earth, so it's kind of, I see more in the last 6 years, people bringing their animals. It used to be, again, sorry not to take this up with other stuff, but it used to be that people kind of didn't bring their dogs down there, but it's...
Because dogs aren't supposed to be out down there.
I know, I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know,
It's-
me neither.
I'm with you, I feel you, but that's just realistically...
Short of actually
Sorry.
policing the fact, but I think that would be a great addition to any of, you know, in this pursuit of the trash and recycling receptacles. Generally, where there are people, there are dogs.
And unfortunately, what we've experienced is where there are people and there are dogs, there are dog waste, and we end up with poor water quality.
Yeah, exactly. And I love dogs.
And not everybody takes care of their dog's waste, even if you give them a place to take care of it.
So if we're gonna do that there, do we wanna also include that down at the beach, even because the dogs are not supposed to be on the beach, but they are?
And people are walking them up and down the sidewalk, or
Yeah.
you know. So
And in theory, you know, when I walk my dog, I bring my doggy bags
Yeah.
when I'm out in public, but I don't always bring them when I'm down at Duck Trap. And I know that there was no dog.
well, it's
down
sort of
there.
a wonderful passive-aggressive, friendly offer. Like, hey, you got a dog? Here's some
I
bags.
always
Take
appreciate
care.
it when I give my dog pass for sure. Like, I mean, sometimes you go over, you know, you bring a couple bags, maybe it's a special day, and you have a third one you didn't realize. I don't know.
Oh, whatever.
Or the new dog owners who go, oh, I forgot to bring bags.
Yeah.
So I can certainly look into that and put some pricing together for that.
Great.
If we're gonna start, you ought to consider taking the ordinance that we say that don't have dogs and get rid of it.
Yeah, because it's gonna confuse the public if there's a dog waste station and there's a line saying no dog allowed.
Mhm.
It won't be, well,
So I can have that be something that we consider moving
Great.
forward.
Or we
Or enforcing.
put on a future select board meeting hiring a dog policer.
Well, parking enforcement, dog enforcement.
Okay, what else?
I think you're excused unless.
Oh, wait,
somebody said-
did we actually cover Lincolnville beach maintenance?
No,
That's David.
because it's not Stephanie.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
And so what we didn't get to, we didn't mention the tennis courts.
We put that under infrastructure, or the capital improvements. So
Okay.
we had talked about that
Tuesday night.
last Tuesday night, so you're off the hook on that
I don't
one.
have to hook on that. Okay. So
I-
you guys know what we're asking for, what we're
Yeah.
recommending? Okay.
David increased it.
Go David.
I put the whole thing in there.
Okay.
So if we could go back to Breesman Park maintenance, mowing, I know this has been done by the same individual for years, and we've been giving him that for years. I guess this is a two-part question. Do we know he's gonna be able to do it this upcoming summer? And how long do we think he's going to be available to do it? And is $600 enough? He mows it all summer. There's no trimming.
Right.
And that's another part to my question. I don't see anything here, Stephanie, for trimming, because typically Bridgemere Park and down by the water and everything doesn't get trimmed.
You're correct. Kayla and I talked about this a little bit in some of my planning and thinking, looking ahead, that would be something that I would look to, to start budgeting in and get some numbers we have somebody who does the rest of the grounds.
Put it in as
So
part of
let's
that bid.
get a number from him this year so that come next year's budget, we can put that in.
A number for mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
A
So,
person that's already mowing for us?
don't we have somebody who
The
does
person
the
that does
regular
like the
grounds?
town office.
Roll
and-
it into the other mowing and trimming that we,
And if we don't wanna take the
contract.
mowing away from the person currently doing it, we could ask how much would it cost to just
Start with the trimming.
start with
Yeah, and could you take that one step further and get a separate price for mowing and trimming of the ball fields? Please?
Yes, who do I ask about that one? Cause ball fields are different than just any other.
Well, I thought, okay, this is a sidebar conversation then, alright,
Okay.
okay. I would just wonder about Bridgemere Park and the mowing for this summer. And do you think we should give him a little bit more? I mean, we've been giving him $600 for how many years now? He's using his own gas, his own mower. He's had to do work on his mower, that type of thing. So I'm just kind of wondering.
I don't even know, I've never had a conversation with him about it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I've heard,
I'm just trying to do
This
the
is
right
what I
thing
inherited.
because, yeah, I'm just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
That's all.
so, okay. And as far as I know, I guess he's ready for it for this year. And,
Yeah.
and I think that looking ahead, we can start looking ahead at incorporating more or whatever, for this budget year. I don't know that I'd go anywhere near the school mowing right now.
I'm not saying to do that.
Yep.
I'm just asking for a roundabout figure of how much it's gonna cost to take it over and mow it.
Okay?
Not the school, the ball field and the ball fields and the soccer field.
So both ball fields?
Yep.
Everything from the playground down?
Yep, from the
Okay.
fence down.
And would that also include around the tennis courts? Who does that?
No,
Do they get mowed?
no, they're above the fence.
Okay.
It's just-
If
Yeah.
we're not talking for FY '21, we ought to have a discussion
Yeah.
about
No,
what
I just
we
think that,
at a FY '22
Yeah.
Yeah.
pre-budget planning session.
Thank you, Stephanie, you did well.
Absolutely,
Thank you very much.
very good.
outstanding.
Thank you. Good job.
Alright,
Okay.
get us back on track, David.
We're on track. While we're still on page 18, I'm gonna talk about the remainder of Public Works, other. McGonagall Dams, we have budgeted 0. In the past, we paid a third of the cost. Dams are owned by the town of Camden, town of Lincolnville, and town of Camden select boards have tried to meet several different times, been postponed, been canceled, been whatever. Until we get some movement there, we're budgeting 0, unless someone tells me differently, because I don't even know what they're gonna spend. Bridgemere Park maintenance, Lincolnville Beach maintenance, we have porta potties at Lincolnville Beach. We have a beach cleaning contract where somebody goes, takes the trash out of the dumpsters on a daily basis all summer long and picks up junk off the beach. We have some monies in there for spring or storm cleanup. Sometimes in the spring we end up with trees and brush and weird stuff. And then beach supplies like garbage bags and anything else. And we'll really quick get us back on schedule. No questions. Septic disposal contract. Town's required by state statute either to have a licensed septic disposal field or a contract with a contractor that's willing to accept it. Town has contracted for a number of years with Morris Septic of Swanville. I say this every year. The previous employer, we had our own septic disposal field, and it cost us much more than that on an annual basis to operate the field and license the field and test the field and whatever else. Please don't change that. And that concludes Public Works Other. It went really quick. Anybody have some questions?
Just a little footnote on the bottom, proposed to be carried forward for the dams.
Yep.
$1 million. Is that then like a cumulative amount?
Yeah.
carried forward?
Way back in the day, the towns of Camden and Rockport, really Camden did it, and Lincolnville contributed to the dam upkeep. And somewhere in the country there were some dam failures, and it became a higher priority, and the Maine Emergency Management Agency got tasked with inspecting all these dams in the state of Maine for potential catastrophes. And they came up with quite a list for the town of Camden on their dams, and this is for the east and west dams that impound the water of McGonagall Lake. The McGonagall Dam Committee didn't agree with the assessment, and the town of Camden, as the owner, didn't agree with the assessment. They hired an outside entity to inspect the dams, came up with a different work plan, submitted that to the state, and they had at that time set a long-range goal of having, I think it was $90,000 or $100,000 in a fund available to address problems. And at the time, Lincolnville was paying 1/3 of the cost, and Camden was paying 2/3. So Lincolnville's goal had been to have $30,000. One point we were up to somewhere over 40. And for a number of years, we didn't even get billed by the town of Camden for work that was done, and they had a change in management down there and came back to us and said, could you pay us for the last couple of years worth of maintenance and upkeep? And we did. And so that's where we stand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on that? Woo-hoo. Pat? Welcome. We're going to boards and committees, which is on page 19. Pat Shannon, I don't know if you drew the short straw or not, but got assigned from the Lakes and Ponds Committee to, or maybe she volunteered, to come talk about the Lakes and Ponds request. We'll back up and do the other request. And Pat?
Back up and do what?
Do Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, Planning Board. Lakes and Ponds is it.
I don't back up, I only move forward. The Lakes and Ponds Committee is requesting the same amount that we requested last year for the same reasons, and I'm here to answer any questions you have about that.
There is a little blurb that was written by the Lakes and Ponds Committee that's included in your budget package.
Wow, that's in fine print.
We're trying to save paper.
Some of you might remember what we did with a portion of our budget last year, because you all signed it, the letter to Lakes and Ponds property owners about unencapsulated blue styrofoam. And in a follow-up survey that the committee did this past summer, we have found that there is a decrease in the number of floats and docks with the blue styrofoam, and we'll survey that twice again this summer.
That's great.
And advise
Can you
that.
refresh my memory? We didn't put a timeline on that. That was just a heads up and see how it worked.
Both the committee and the
Okay.
select board chose to go the route of education
Yeah.
and giving people as much information as possible, sort of a wait and see if people responded to the
Is there a
information.
decent percentage that have changed?
Yes, I
Good.
don't,
Good.
Gary has that information, and he's
Perfect.
unable to be here, but it has been positive.
We
Yeah.
got a lot of calls.
So this will go back out again?
We're talking about
Talking
sending
about
it a second time, perhaps
Perfect.
this summer, because there's a lot of change in ownership of property on the
Yeah.
lakes and ponds.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that current owners have it. And also that people who have access to the pond
private right-of-ways things, I'll also get the mailing.
That's
So,
good.
Wonderful, so
yeah,
great.
we're pretty pleased with it, and working with the select board on the letter was great, so.
Any more questions for Pat? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Is
coming
it
back.
done now, or am I done?
You're done.
I'm just back to being a curious citizen. Thank you.
So while we're right on page 19, we'll do the other boards and committees. Starting at the top of the page and working down, we have the Board of Selectmen. Each one of these 5 people receives a stipend for their activities. We pay FICA and Medicare, or our share of FICA and Medicare on that. And we have what's referred to as the Selectmen's Fund for training or other purposes for the selectmen. Should they choose to go to something and be educated in the course of the year. What was that, Gary? You wanted to zero that account out? Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, moving down. Conservation Commission isn't looking for any additional appropriation. They do have some monies that are in their account that we're looking to move, carry forward. That was, when we researched this probably more than a couple of years ago now, most of that money was donated funds from previous years. They did some fundraising efforts, so it would seem a little disingenuous to have a committee go do fundraising and then take it back and spend it on something else.
Yeah.
Planning board, we provide for the planning board the ability to attend some training sessions for professional development. They also have a recording secretary that takes minutes, and we pay that person, and then we have a little bit of supplies for the planning board. And if there are no other questions on boards and committees, we'll call that good. And we'll ask Mr. Gary to come back up. Lois, welcome. We'll turn the page to municipal support, which is page 20. Municipal support is a bit of a catch-all for various things that go on during the year and donations to some entities outside of the town office or municipal functions, but yet support the community in various ways. The first that is number 1 on there, is a requested donation from the Historical Society. Diane O'Brien is usually here as the president of the Historical Society, but she is not in town, so Rosie Gary is now back in, Vice President Rosie Gary is now in the hot seat, and we'll tell you what they do with the money or why they want it.
We are use it for a lot of our mailings and stuff. It gets used for that. It also gets used for basically for the heat. We rent from the LIA and use it for that. We're not a very rich organization, but we do have a number of people and organizations in and out of the building quite frequently for different historical things throughout the year. And this is the same request, I think, that we've asked for year after year after year, and I'd like it to remain the same.
Any questions for Mr. Gary? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't go too far. No, you're gonna go back over there. Don't go too far. Mr. Leeper from McGonagall Watershed Association is not here. What's your preference? For me to give a brief overview, to skip over it and come back?
Did he indicate he would be here?
We reminded him of his appointed time.
I didn't remind him. I did send him the original email. I forgot to remind him.
You got the original email about the appointed time.
He's generally here, but,
Maybe it's snowy up in Searsmont, and he hasn't made it back.
why not just give an overview, cause he's not, there's nothing
Sure.
new or different.
I will attempt to do that. There is in the budget itself, there's a blurb that those folks wrote. They're looking at the same request as last year, $3,600. They outlined primarily what they do with that, which is water testing, and then providing inspectors at the boat launching ramps at Breezemere Park. They also do that at Bog Bridge and Route 52 boat launching ramps, which aren't in the town of Lincolnville. Looking for invasive plant species. They do bi-weekly testing on Norton Pond, McGonagall Lake, and yearly testing on Levin Cellar, Moody, and Pitcher. They work with our code officer for issues that they observe on the lakes and ponds that might require his attention. Also provide transportation out to the islands that are in the lake that for both code officer and our assessor if we need to get out there. And they do a lake patrol, which isn't really us, but they do patrol the lake to help with safety issues. And I'd try to answer some more questions if you thought it was necessary. No, chastise Paul for not being here.
Let's move along.
Okay. Cemeteries, I did speak with the cemetery trustee chair today. Unfortunately, he's has a little bit of a medical issue, so he's unable to attend. I think he's watching at home, like Cecil. The request for the coming year is a request that it's been for the last several years, I believe. For the upkeep and the maintenance of the cemeteries within the town of Lincolnville that don't have active cemetery associations or have been abandoned, as well as the responsibilities the town has under state statute for veterans' graves.
Question,
Fire away.
is that including repairing the fence on the cemetery up the road where it's all been knocked down?
No, on Union Cemetery? No, that actually, there's a cemetery association with that. My understanding is that they filed an insurance claim against the car that did the damage.
I saw the trail.
And is in the process, if you recall, that fence was semi-ornate. It wasn't something that you go down to the local hardware store and pick one up. So my understanding, and don't quote me on this because I'm not part of that, is that they've got one being manufactured.
Nice. Thank you.
Place. You're welcome. Next on the hot seat is Lois Lyman here to talk about the request from the Lincolnville Community Library. And we had in there, they also submitted a simplified, maybe it's not simplified, maybe that's all you have, but a budget. Last year we asked for a follow-up of what their expenses and revenues were, and this year they provided it in advance.
Excellent.
Lois is here to explain to you what they might do with their donation should they receive it.
Excuse me. We're asking for the same amount this year as in the other years. It goes mainly toward the stipend for our paid librarian, which is 15 hours a week minimum before we get accepted by the state as a proper library, which happened within the first year of our inauguration. And we can get grants for an awful lot of stuff, but we can't get grants. They're one-time things, and we can't get grants for operations, and we can't get grants for salaries. So that's basically, we've done very well with grants and donations this year, but we don't know what's going to happen next year.
So last year, I seem to recall that you had a surplus of about $3,000. Did you end up using that?
probably it went into the savings account for emergencies.
Okay.
I mean, this was a surprisingly good year for us, and we're hoping it keeps up, but.
Yeah, so last year you had a surplus, and then this year, I haven't seen your budget summary yet, but you had another surplus then?
I was just elected chair of this.
Lucky you!
Well, the finance officer is out of state.
Well, their budget that they provided to us does show an equal amount of income as expenses
Okay.
for the coming year, but.
That's what's planned, and I certainly hope it happens. We've grown, we have nearly 800 cardholders now. It's a pretty high proportion of the town for the library.
Yeah, excellent.
And from 4,000 books to 4,500. Some of that was grants, and some of that was and programs. That people like to fund books and programs. So that's where we've had some help. We've got some help from the family dentistry down at Lincolnville Beach to help put on the music program, which is the only one that we have to really pay for. Most of our programs are free.
Quick question, what,
Sure.
under the administrative expense, $1,000, what is that for?
Say that again.
Administrative expense, 1,000, right underneath the stipend, 9,500.
Yeah.
Good question.
Well, I think it's like mailings, paying for the interlibrary loan returns. We offer that for free, so people get an interlibrary loan book and we send it back for them and don't charge them for it.
I was just curious when that was.
Yeah, that's turned out to be a lot more than we expected it to be. So.
CMP, $200. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that the solar array was taking care of all of the power needs and then some for the library.
Well, we have a contract with them, and yeah.
Typically, those, you still need to be connected to the grid, which they are. And so CMP is a transmission and distribution company, but they're not the supplier of electricity. So like for our electricity at the fire station, we pay a basic meter charge every month to CMP because we're connected to the grid.
So that would be like the basic meter.
Yeah, I can't speak for the library, but my guess is
Yeah, and we're
that
also
that's what
supporting
that-
the LIA building.
yeah, that's what it is, you know, I
That's
think it,
$15 a month.
thank you, I was gonna say.
Thank you, John.
$15.30.
John lives it too, don't you, John?
Yep.
Yep.
I know about that.
Can you use your solar credit and then to offset that $15 or?
No.
you start paying the
Disconnect. Hard at night, but. Any other questions for Lois, or shall we keep on schedule? Or we'll be ahead of schedule.
Put it that way.
Very efficient tonight. Any others? Thank you, Lois. You sound like you're suffering just like I am.
Yeah, actually.
Maybe I'm a day ahead of you. Oh, don't run off with that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was it.
That's all right.
Nope.
Former Selectman Gary's now back in the hot seat. He might need it.
David, may I ask a quick question about the cemeteries?
Sure.
Why are they proposing to carry over $11,000?
Because they haven't expended it.
Okay. And think they're gonna need it?
They certainly think they're gonna need it.
Okay. Okay.
Fair answer. I haven't had a conversation with Cecil about that, so I can't answer that question, but I can't imagine them asking for $5,500 more or $6,000 more if they weren't gonna need it.
Okay.
Rosie Gary is back, this time putting on his, I like the way you take off your coat on one thing and take off your hat on the other, and change your appearance.
It's his costume
To
change.
talk about Memorial Day and what we do and what that costs and the funds that we
So-
invest.
So with Memorial Day, let me just, can I ask our finance director, what did we spend last year?
Last year, we
Not prepared.
spent $707.
But there's a breakdown of what we, if you can read that, of what we budgeted for this year. Flag speaker.
Yes.
There is a breakdown on page 21 of the request. You want to talk about why we buy $400 worth of flags?
Is that a question?
I think you ought to explain those a little bit so people are in the
All
know,
right.
whether here in the room or watching at home.
All right, we supply the flags for all the cemeteries.
Don't turn to me, I know it.
And, no, I don't. For all the cemeteries. And,
And those flags go on what days? Or by what day?
that, they need to be out, they should be out. We don't have a policy, but we'd like to have them out at least 10 days prior to and 10 days after veteran. They stay out all summer long. And if we find one that's damaged, or if Cecil or I are passing through one of the cemeteries, we, depending on the cemetery, we replace them. Or if we see one in one of the not private cemeteries, but cemeteries that have a active association, usually contact that individual and say, because it is kind of territorial, and so I'm not being funny, but it is, respect, I guess. And so we ask them to replace the flag if we see one damaged, and what they do get damaged in lawnmowers have a tendency to bump into them. It's just an accident. They don't do it intentionally for that.
And approximately how many flags do we put out on an annual basis? And
Oh
bring in?
boy, oh boy. Now Cecil was supposed to be here. He can answer that, but I don't know. You know?
I don't.
No,
How much are the flags each year?
about $1. What are dollars? I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know.
I don't either, but
We can find out.
I was just curious.
we do.
We buy them by the box. Buy them by the box.
But there are hundreds that go out.
Oh, definitely.
On
Absolutely.
to, where do they get placed?
Every veteran's grave
And
in the entire town.
And we're required to do that?
We are.
Don't tell me.
We are.
And those get put out by paid labor?
No, it's volunteer.
Volunteer.
Yeah, and we've had people come in.
So
You know, I usually put a thing on the Lincolnville bulletin board, and we get one or two from Lincolnville, but I must say a lot of the help comes from Camden and Rockport. That comes to Lincolnville and helps us.
And a lot of Lincolnville helps Camden and Rockport put their flags up.
We do help
Okay.
Rockport and Camden.
So this
put
is
their
the
flags up.
cost to purchase flags, and do we only use them once?
No, we haven't in the past. We actually try to recycle some of them. Cecil has been very good about that. If the stick is really bent, or if there's a real problem with it, or if the flag is the least bit torn, we take them to the American Legion, and we have a flag burning ceremony that we do there. But if the flag is in real good condition, we recycle them. We use them again, if, you know, especially if we use them for like the replacement flag, if we have to replacement, like if something happened up to, you know, I think we got 2 up in,
Yep.
you know, some of the cemetery next to your house, there's 2 up there. We also put up, 2 out here in the woods. Right, if you walk right down through here, there are 2 veterans' graves in the woods down in there, very small. And so we try to cover all of that. And then we have the wreaths. We do the wreaths at Memorial Day, and I think we get 3 or 4, 3 I think, 3 wreaths. Karen takes care of that, and so. And then there's there's a thing on there for meals.
Yep.
Yeah, the meals goes to the Masons, put on a meal for all the participants, like the Lincolnville band gets fed, and all the marchers in the parade, get fed at the Masonic Hall.
Because they've also participated in.
They start. Actually, it's quite interesting. It starts out early in the morning in Camden. Goes from Camden to Rockport, and then from Rockport to Lincolnville, and from Lincolnville to Lincolnville Beach to the.
And Camden and Rockport also contribute to the meals.
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Just want to make sure.
They do.
that the-
And the Masonic Hall does a wonderful job. It's real good, and they feed probably a couple hundred people, about 300 people maybe. So.
What else would you like to tell us about?
I don't know. Any questions on
What
Memorial
days
Day?
will one?
So 2 graves that way, you have to go through the salt shed
No,
line.
we go down Norton Pond Road. Actually, it's over further. I'm sorry. It's in that direction. Believe me. And but they're actually Revolutionary War veterans.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, there is. Yeah, Revolutionary War.
And that's it, just 2 graves, it's just interesting.
No, there's more graves there,
Okay.
The 2 veterans.
but 2 veterans that we know of.
Okay.
And we put, like, up to the older cemetery up on the hill, up on Knight's Hill, where there's just stones, they're just sticking up, and we put one flag there because we really don't have any clue who's really buried there. But we know there's graves there, but we just don't have any clue of that. And then, like, we hand them out to, like, the person in charge of Maplewood. They do that. They're offered help if they want it. French Cemetery is offered, all the cemeteries in the cemetery. Lately, we've been taking care of the Youngtown Cemetery Committee has said, go ahead. We love you guys to put out the flags. We take care of the upper and lower cemeteries, the Heels, and we do the one up to by David's. Anywhere where we know there's only one cemetery in Lincolnville, and hopefully that's getting taken care of. We don't know that though. That's another whole deal up off North Coptown Road. So, but.
Any other questions regarding Memorial Day and proposed expenses?
Great job.
Feel free to spend the rest of the evening here, or you can go home.
Oh, gee, can I really? Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Really
everybody.
appreciate it. Have fun.
Have a good night.
General assistance is the next item on the list, which is previously referred to as welfare. Jayla is the general assistance director, is that the right title? For the town, and she's going to explain to you her requests for the coming year.
So I'm requesting the same amount as last year. We had cut it about in half from the previous year, because our request had been down and we get a 70% reimbursement from the state, for most of the, people that we help. So we're just looking to pretty much keep it the same this year with the reduction. I have had an increase in the heating assistance over the previous year, but I still have enough to help about a couple more people before the reimbursements come in from the state. So I feel comfortable with what we have available.
One of the other things about general assistance is it's one of the accounts that is allowable by state statute to overrun if we need to. We don't have any choice about, we have guidelines and ordinances that are published, and if somebody qualifies, they qualify, and they're gonna get assistance. And that's part of the reason we get a 70% reimbursement, but if we budget $2,000 and we spend $3,000, we're allowed to do that without having to go back for a special appropriation or something like that. But we do try to budget a realistic amount. Any questions on general assistance? The last of this page is kind of a little bit of other stuff, shall we say? Moderator, we pay our moderators of town meeting if they so choose. We budget for 3 town meetings a year and pay the moderator a $75 stipend. Sometimes those folks decline that and we gladly keep that money, but if they don't, they earn it. Ballot clerks, we've budgeted an increase for ballot clerks for the coming year. Those folks get paid, I think you pay a minimum wage. Minimum wage. Some people choose to volunteer. We are looking at a presidential election in the fall, and we're likely to have more ballot clerks for more hours. And we budgeted some additional monies there should that be needed. Registrar of voters, it supplies that one of the ladies in the office is actually the registrar of voters. We budget for some supplies, which are voter registration cards and the stickers that go on the stuff. Professional development, she's required to go to training. Publications and equipment purchases, we have a special computer for voter registration. Occasionally we need to do something like that. We've got a barcode reader and whatever else. Tremendous amount of money, but you know, nonetheless. And the last item in there is LIA building maintenance. We make it a donation to the Lincolnville Improvement Association on an annual basis. We plow and sand the parking lot there. This is a building that we own. We have a security system there which includes intrusion and fire and smoke, or however that all works, and then a little bit of money for building maintenance. We've got quite a building there, and the Board of Selectmen, as you know, have had an evaluation done of that building and are in the throes of trying to decide what we're going to do with it.
David, can you tell me exactly what the $2,000 is used for?
Which 2,000?
We just
The
cut a check
donation?
To the LIA. Are they using it for scholarships, or are they using it for?
I think they use it to supplement their budget, and it's probably goes into the heat and sewer down there, would be my guess.
Okay.
And they're expensive. I can't tell you exactly. I've seen their budget, but it's revenue over here, and they don't assign it to anything in particular that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think they try to, between our donation and the Historical Society's rent, I think they're trying to offset their building expenses, custodians and heat, and having septic holding tank pumped out so that the monies they raise, they feel like they're going towards the scholarship funds.
Okay.
Do they get any kind of donations for electricity through any, like the library or any of these places that are producing electricity for the LIA?
Yeah, the library, my understanding is the library, any excess that they generate through their solar gets utilized or credited or however you, whatever the buzzwords are for the from the LIA.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, do you know the excess energy that the library generates annually?
There's excess,
Good answer.
maybe $400 worth a year,
Okay.
yeah. After giving other excess to the LIA, so this is left over after both.
Oh, even after the LIA, there's additional excess.
Yeah, we wish we could find someone else to take the rest. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know it is. I'm just being wise.
Wow,
I
okay,
shouldn't
that's
be.
great. Wow.
If there are no other questions on municipal support, we'll turn the page to page 22, which is provider agencies. This year, they're not listening anymore. Typically this goes to, not typically, this always goes to the budget committee first. Typically, the budget committee hasn't made their recommendations by this time, but this year the budget committee is crackerjack moving forward and have made their recommendations, which are included on page 22. I don't know if Gary wants to explain a little bit about this.
Sure, I'll give a little update. The budget committee met on January 15th, and we reviewed all the provider agency packets that Kayla and the staff put together for us. We were very, I guess the word strict, that they didn't follow the rules. We didn't consider them. And in past years, there have been some agencies that did not do what they needed to do. But so there were a few packets in there that weren't complete, so we didn't entertain the request at that time. So you'll see the budget committee recommendations, all the provider agencies that we did make recommendations did do everything they needed to do to be compliant with the rules. Going down the list, the American Red Cross did have all the proper paperwork, and they requested $1,000. The budget committee considered that and agreed to give them their request. So let me just highlight a couple of the, if you look at Lifeline Foundation, they only requested $750. After some debate and conversation on the committee, they felt that we wanted to increase that up a little bit to $1,000. They really do a great job for this community. There have been many experiences that Lifeline did for some people that live in Lincolnville. And then also, New Hope for Women, their request was $1,240. Again, a lot of discussion about all the great work they do for our community, so we thought it would be nice to increase it to $1,500. If you go down the rest of the list, pretty much what they requested, we felt it was accurate, and the committee agreed with that request. I'll entertain any questions, but you have those numbers before you.
So the Red Cross got their stuff in on time.
Well, I want to thank God. I think
Dottie
the
did the
choir
petition.
underneath them, and she got what they needed to get done.
Good.
Thank you.
Great.
Great. What does Spectrum Generations do?
They,
I think I asked this.
Meals on Wheels
Meals on Wheels,
and kind of elder services. They used to be
Elder
called,
services.
what did they used to be
Think of
called
nature, I think.
back in the day?
Waldo County Committee for Social Action or something like that. They were under that umbrella.
Were they?
Yeah, way back. But they do a lot for elderly.
Okay.
They do in-home
I have their packet if
visits,
you want
yeah.
to review it. But,
Sure.
Unfortunately, because of lack of budgets, they don't do as many services as they used to.
And the hospice volunteers, $400 is enough for them?
So the first, that's what they requested, it'd be a good way to test the water, I mean,
Sure.
they go out of wonderful service. And,
Yeah.
A lot of personal experience, and, personal experiences, I personally have, we found out, we pull them in too late. People tend to wait too long, and they really can't get all the services that
Yeah,
they offer.
yeah, yep.
Yep. And like Red Cross is an enormous amount of volunteer.
Yep.
But it's the nursing that counts, and now there's more of an effort to encourage people and let people know what the services are to get them
Mhm.
home for the repair.
Yeah, it's a wonderful.
And just as a reminder, the Nursing Association, they don't really have a request, but we just keep it down and keep it going every year in case they do have a request.
Okay.
Other questions regarding provider agencies? Seeing none, we're all gonna have to flip back to page
Right,
17.
the harbor.
Was the harbor master supposed to attend?
Yes, he has alerted me that he would not be in attendance due to his snow plowing business interests. And so I will attempt to do my best to explain the Public Works Harbor, which is on page 17. The first 4 items I think are pretty self-explanatory. We've talked about them on just about every other request in terms of stipends and FICA and Medicare. The remainder, the hoists, we have 2. Budget some money for if something goes wrong with either of those. Pier repair and maintenance, we have contracted labor, which is really contracted services. The last couple of years has been with Dark Harbor Boatyard. Float maintenance, moving and storage. That's the setup of the floats that we have and the putting into storage and the storage of the floats for off-season. Boat use, mileage for vehicles, materials being anything that breaks and gets repaired, town guest and float mooring items. We have 3 town guest moorings in the harbor. We have those, the inspection is different, but if we have to do any repairs to those or replacements. Electrical repairs, we have some issues electrically there again. It's kind of a harsh environment, looking to repair lights and probably do some replacement, and the panels are deteriorating with salt air and water. Storm damage repairs is money should we have a storm damage, such as to the inclines. Those seems to have at times in the past taken the beating, literally and figuratively. Mowing and snow removal, we do some mowing down there. We have a contractor that does who gets mows here at the town office, and the fire station mows down there, and we do snow removal. Town guest and mooring inspections. We, like other mooring holders, are required to do inspections of our moorings on an annual basis. We contract that out. And we used to have a line called decking repair, but we're in the process now. The board's awarded a project to redeck the vast majority of that. So we haven't budgeted any money for decking repair, because hopefully we won't need any. Electricity is pretty straightforward. We have some electrical items down there at the pier that run on electricity. Memberships and training, we pay harbor master dues, and they're required by the a job description to attend the annual harbor masters training. And then we have a wave break survey. A number of years ago we installed a stone wave break, and we're required to do a survey of the beach on both sides annually to see if it's impacting with erosion or accretion. Is that what that's called? Somebody help me. Build up of sand or the washing away of sand. That seems to be, after a number of years of doing it, more storm related than anything else. The beach hasn't moved a tremendous amount one way or the other, but there is concern that it might cause that. So. And then the work plan is at the bottom of that page, just outlines in general terms what will occur or occurs there, from keeping the facility's fully functional. It starts in July when our fiscal year does. October, we typically remove the seasonal float from storage at the pool at Dark Harbor Boatyard. November through April is snow removal for the pier as necessary. By the 1st of December, we have a boat launching, not a launching ramp, incline that goes down to the float that goes out to the easternmost float that has a section that drops down to make it completely walkable in the winter, full width, primarily as a safety measure. And this, in the summer season, that gets flipped up so it can have a slide down one side. If there was an emergency run from Owlsboro and they needed the ramp completely walking surface, they can pull a couple of things and it drops down and they can get up through it. And that walking surface or half the deck gets lifted at some point after April 1st. May, we do our guest mooring inspection repair, clean the deck and the ramp. In June, we install, or by June, the installation of the seasonal floats and any adjustments that need to be made. So I'll stop talking there. This really is a hard account to predict the expenses because it's more like, oh, it broke, we fix it. And it's not one of those ones that is, we talked a little bit about Tuesday about front-loading accounts and accounts that more on the second half of the year. I would say this was more of a second half of the year expense because that's when we set up in the summer season and discovered things that were rotten or broken or damaged in the winter and had the expenses that time of year.
Well, yeah,
Fire away.
just, I'm not sure if this is harbor or a beach, and I'm just curious. Sometimes you'll see there's a hose, a drain hose, I guess, that runs out into the bay, maybe from the restaurant.
I think that's the lots of pound, they use that to fill up their tanks.
Well, it depends on what,
Fill their tanks.
it depends on which hose you're looking at.
Oh, I don't know.
We have one that goes out underneath the pier itself.
Huh?
That's an outfall pipe from the, well, now the Lincolnville Sewer District owns it, but it's from the, was a previous Lincolnville Beach sanitary facilities outfall pipe where their treated wastewater discharges out to the bay.
Okay.
There's another pipe, not, well, it's a ways away from that pipe, fortunately, that brings water into lobster tanks, and there's even another one closer to the lobster pound that goes out across the beach that's intake water for their lobster tanks. And I don't know if the Whale Keep has one of those or not. I don't think they do, because they have a overboard discharge there too, so probably not. So it depends on which pipe you're talking about, John. None of which are mine, ours, excuse me,
Okay.
fortunately. If no one has some questions, thank you all for persevering through 2 nights. And as you wallow through this, should you have some questions, feel free to give us a jingle here at the town office or come in. I would anticipate that the board will be doing some deliberations. We have a couple of days worth of homework that we've acquired in the last 2 nights. The board will be making their recommendation some point in March, this board, and then it will come to the budget committee with the same format, but with the selectmen's recommendations column filled in, so that you know what they didn't like for the request they've heard, whether they up it, down it, or keep it the same. And we'll go over those and move on.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
To adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Ta-da.
So,
All right.